Channel 5 Network. This is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. After months of negotiations, Mayor John Cooper and the Tennessee Titans NFL football team announced on Monday they had reached an agreement to build a new $2.2 billion dome stadium on the city's East Bank. The new dome would be the largest public building project in Nashville's history, with funding coming from the Titans, the state of Tennessee, and Metro government. Next up to consider approval of this private-public partnership will be the 40 members of the Metro's council. Council member at Large Bob Mendes is one of the leaders of that council. He chairs a council committee overseeing plans to revitalize the East Bank. He's our guest on Inside Politics today. Councilman, welcome back to the program.
Good to be here, Pat. Thanks for having me.
The dome announcement came on Monday afternoon. The council met the next evening on Tuesday. As you were walking around the hallways, there's nothing on the agenda about this, but what did you hear from council members about this whole thing? Are they on board, or are there a lot of questions still?
I think there's a lot of questions. I mean, the reality is that the first chapter is closed. The private negotiation between the team and the mayor's office is over, and now the public and the council is getting to hear what the actual proposal is.
Did your committee receive any advance briefing or warning about this before the news conference was held on Monday?
I heard on Sunday that there was going to be a press conference on Monday.
Do you expect the Titans and the Cooper administration to come before your committee? How quickly to explain this deal and to explain what kind of legislation is coming?
Yeah, they're going to be before our committee on next Wednesday, the 26th, at 4:30 in the afternoon. It'll be televised. We expect a more detailed presentation of the proposal at that time.
What do you think will be included in the legislative package? Have you seen the package that's coming? At least this is the first, or maybe a couple of packages, I understand.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 rounds of legislation, one now and then one in the spring. The package now has 3 pieces of legislation. One is a resolution to approve the term sheet, an ordinance to start a tax now, a hotel occupancy tax, and third, they want a resolution giving them authority to find and develop a real estate development partner for the East Bank.
Now, the ordinance that's coming up is going to have an attachment. I think you mentioned a term sheet. The very interesting thing that I think is catching a lot of people's eyes, including yours, is the word that this term sheet is non-binding.
Yeah, it is a non-binding term sheet, and literally this 27-page document is the $2 billion deal right now. It's non-binding. It doesn't have signatures. It's primarily an outline of what the ultimate deal documents will be.
I guess I'm a little confused. If the term sheet is non-binding, I thought they had a deal.
Well, I think they have a deal, but at $2 billion, it takes a lot of documentation to get that. But they want to know that directionally the council is or is not supportive of where they're at. But
if the deal's non-binding, why should the council approve it at this point? The council's not necessarily bought into it either, and asking you to go ahead and approve this. I can never remember the council approving giving a non-binding approval on these legislation.
All right, we'll have to see what the council does. Like literally, we got this yesterday morning, and 3 days after the press conference. So we're just beginning to learn about it now.
Again, on this non-binding aspect, is this just multiple lawyers being cautious for their clients in this case Metro, the state, and for that matter the Titans itself? Or is there any reason to believe there are parts of this deal that aren't cooked, that aren't baked, aren't done?
I think there are definitely parts that aren't done. I think one example is I don't think the team and the mayor's office have fully figured out how parking will work in the area, and that's still to be negotiated. And there's just a lot goes into a $2 billion deal. Apparently, more than 27 pages of non-binding.
Well, since this is a non-binding agreement, does that mean the council can make changes to this non-binding agreement as it comes through? Has the council got the right to make changes in this and any other legislation?
We literally are less than 24 hours into having it. I'm assuming there will be some suggestions from the council.
Now, the other ordinance that you're having come through is the increase of Metro's funding, and at least a way to begin that funding. That's the 1 cent increase in the hotel motel tax. I thought that could be done by resolution, but in this particular case, either the legislature is requiring it or Metro's decided it's best to do this by ordinance. That's going to take a longer period of time.
We are told that we'll see an ordinance from the administration for the extra 1% on the hotel occupancy tax.
And if you pass this, as soon as that happens, then those who come to Nashville and stay in hotels and motels will pay that extra tax. Why do they want that in place now?
Well, the draft I've seen would turn it on effective February 1st of 2023, and I'm told, and we don't have good information on this yet, but I'm told that they would like to start building up money to pay for development costs. You know, just the design and architect fees on a $2 billion facility are extensive, and apparently they want to start gathering money for that now.
If this was anything other than a hotel-motel tax paid primarily by people who come to Nashville, don't live in Nashville, would the council approve approving a tax for a project that's still non-binding?
I mean, we're going to see how the council feels about it, but to me, the idea of turning on a tax on a tentative deal, a non-binding deal, like I don't understand why we would do that. And by the way, there are a whole lot of Nashvillians who live in pay by the week or pay by the month hotels who this will impact too. From a money point of view, it's primarily out-of-towners, but there are plenty of Nashvillians that would have to deal with this.
To be a little wonkish about how the council operates, a resolution can be passed on one vote, doesn't even require 21 votes, and that's it. An ordinance takes 3 readings. Usually the first reading is customary, not a problem. Second reading is where it's either amended and changed. That's a crucial one. Third reading, it has to pass. It has to pass by 21 votes. So there's a difference between those. This particular one on the hotel-motel thing, we're talking about that going through at least probably a 6-week process to get it through the council. Is that right?
It's a minimum of 3. I mean, a minimum of 3 meetings. So the earliest we could pass it would be the beginning of December, assuming no deferrals or for further discussion along the way.
Well, given how complex this entire deal is it likely that we're going to have deferrals and, for that matter, special meetings of the council, at least special committee meetings, joint committee meetings?
The East Bank Stadium Committee is going to have, and we're working hard to try to get a schedule in place now that we know there's this term sheet. We're going to have probably about 5 meetings in the council chamber and 5 public meetings around the county, dates to be decided.
Unlike the building of the current Nissan Stadium back in the 90s, where a public referendum was required to get this done because it was being used under general obligation bonds backed by property taxes, that's not happening this time. But given the size and complexity and perhaps the controversy of this, do you see your committee or the full council holding a public hearing or multiple public hearings so the public can be heard about this?
Our committee intends to hold 5 public comment meetings, and we're going to hold them around the county, tentatively one in Antioch, Bellevue, Hermitage, North Nashville, and then somewhere close to the stadium in East Nashville.
Do you already feel the pressure coming from the community in some cases, but also from the administration? Okay, now we've got this deal. Come on, council, y'all need to approve this.
They're not pushing hard yet, but it's clear that they wanted to move quickly. My perspective is it took 2 years for the mayor to get to 27 pages. The public deserves to take a couple minutes to look at it.
Metro Councilman Large Bob Mendes is our guest. We're talking about the announcement this week of a potential dome stadium on the East Bank, $2.2 billion. Back to continue our conversation with the councilman after this break.
This storm